Okay, so I'm going to attempt a very quick demonstration of the pop art inspired salt and pepper shakers. I'm going to draw these in and then I'm going to paint them with bold colors. So we are, for this assignment, form and texture is what we're focusing on, and color or value in the contrast. So we want to keep the colors bold, and I want to make sure that I'm showing the sense of form in the objects, and I want to show that it's made of ceramic. So the thing that's going to be important are these little areas of highlights, the white areas of highlights in some of these places, because those white highlights are what is giving our brain the understanding that this is a reflective object, even though it is red and colorful. When the highlights that we see are clear, then that gives us the indication that this is a reflective object. So I want to make sure I get those in there. Now, again, as I mentioned in the past classes, if you are challenged at drawing, you can feel free to just trace your objects and then focus on drawing instead. Now, I'm using a really small paper because I want to make sure that I get this done in time, that I don't spend too much time on it. So, all right, here I go. What I'm doing, and I'm going to try and talk through this, is I'm going to basically kind of fill in the overall shape of what I think this is taking up the space. So rather than just kind of going into it with contour, I'm going to try and figure out the positive spaces and the negative spaces with this. And I want to make sure I have my eraser handy. And also, if you want to do this alongside me, you can do this particular image, which I've uploaded, obviously, into Canvas. And then there are other objects, salt and pepper shakers that I've uploaded as well. Okay, this is a lot smaller than what this image is smaller than this, so I'm going to have to size this down. Okay. I'm going to use an eraser. Because that way I'm not erasing away anything totally. I'm just kind of lightening it up. I think this needs to be a little smaller. What I want to do is I want to look at this negative space here to see if I'm getting this shape of the pen accurately. And I think I made it a little bit too big. I want to have enough space in between the edge of my paper here and the hen. So I might just make this a little bit smaller just so that I have enough room. This is kind of going at an angle. If I put a horizontal line here and I can see how much of that is dipping below this point here, I can kind of take a look and see if that's similar. A little bit more this way. And I probably should have had this drawn beforehand, but I did not, because I was too busy making sure you guys had enough photo references to use. Okay, now I'm going to add the rooster. Okay, this, if I see where the top of the hen aligns with the rooster, it aligns with his, like, what is it? I don't know. I don't even know what those things are called. Does anyone know what those are called? The little red things underneath them, their beak.
Waddles.
Wattles. Yeah, that's it, huh? Okay, now this is an interesting shape here that I have to look at. And I think that's probably too big. I'm going to see where this point here lines up over here. Lines up at the tip there. This kind of comes at an angle. Okay, that's pretty close. So I'm getting this as an overall straight line. That's pretty close too. So that's like the overall shape, and then, but there's a roundness here, so I'm going to curve that roundness and okay. That feels pretty good, but I want to see where these little feet line up. Right about there. Okay. All right, so I think that's a pretty good placement of the overall shape, except for I think I know that this tail is a lot taller than the top, so I need to make that a little bit higher. This is not going to be totally accurate, but it'll be close. Okay, so now I've got that place, they're placed in here. Now I can start refining things a little bit more. And I think the thing that's important is really getting these little holes. They're so tiny, but that's what makes it a salt and pepper shaker. And the thing is that I couldn't really show these salt and pepper shaker holes without obscuring the cuteness of the ceramic sculpture that they are. So I'm opting to go in this direction rather than focus on the salt and pepper holes. I'm focusing on just the cuteness of it. And then I want to make sure that I add that in there so that you can see that they are salt and pepper shakers. Now this is really close to the edge of my paper, which if I had taped this down, I wouldn't even have that much space. I'd have to make this even smaller. So this painting is going to go all the way to the edge of my paper, which might be problematic, but it is what it is at this point. Okay. And this. Yeah, this is a really challenging one, but I wanted to give myself this challenge. I have another pair of salt and pepper shakers that she has. They're basically just, it looks like ketchup and mustard in a bottle, and it's just red and yellow. I thought I could do that, but I thought it would be nicer to have something a little bit more of a struggle. And that way, if anything came up that might be more of a common occurrence, I could kind of problem solve that here, and then you would see how I'd handle that. Let me know if my hair gets in the camera. I don't know if it is actually doing that. Okay, I think that's good. I need to get the details on this guy here. And okay, let's see, there's some feather indications down here. And now what I want to do is get the cast shadow, and that's the shadow that is being cast onto the surface. Hmm. Now I'm looking at this yellow shape here around the shadow. Rather than drawing this and looking at this, I'm trying to look at this space here, and that actually is giving me a little bit more clarity on the shape of it. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out my little, I have another little pad of watercolor paper that I brought with me. This is the pad of paper that I made for Chicago last week, which is really awesome. Okay. Oh, and I don't think I showed you guys this, but I did. Let me show that really quick. I know I'm still recording, but this was the NBC tower. I can't, no, Yeah, the NBC tower. And then, oh, there's this really beautiful building that it undulates. It looks like water. I think it's a Mies van der Rohe architecture. But anyway, this is what I did on this little thing. And this is my view from the Chicago Tribune Tower. Okay. Here we go. Okay, questions before I begin? I'm just gonna get started. This over here. This. Okay, you guys can see my colors. Use my, oh, where'd my pen go? My trusty traveling paintbrush. Even though I'm not traveling, I still really love this brush. Okay. So typically what the rule is for watercolor, I'm just going to kind of write these down, is we start with a light wash and want to figure out like what, and we also want to block out the whites. Okay, so knowing where my whites are first, that I want to reserve those so that I don't paint in those areas. And I definitely want to hit the highlights. Now, these highlights are small enough where I could actually come in there with just a white gel pen. This here, excuse my reach. I might be able to just come in here with a white gel pen when I'm done and add those because they're so small. That way I can get really saturated in these areas and then just add those white areas in after. That might be the thing that I could do in this instance. But I also know that all of this is really light and I'm going to be making sure that that stays white in like these areas here and up at the top there. So those are areas that I want to make sure that I reserve. This whole area of the hen, it's white, but it's got color in it. So back in my past classes where we painted white ceramic teapots or saucers, we want to think about the color of the shadow in there. Even though this is a white object, like we can think about what color that looks like in here. And in looking on my screen, this part actually kind of looks green up at the top or a little bit blue up here. And then it has some yellow down here, okay, because it's bouncing off, the color is bouncing off of the surface here. If I were to do this more, well, let's see, more in a realistic way, I would definitely want to get those colors in there. And I can still do that. But because I'm trying to, the idea is that we're focusing on the color and the contrast and the form. I want to get all of those in there. But also, if I were to really think about how to make this into an Andy Warhol piece, I might just create all of that as one shadow. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay. So I want to block out my whites or at least understand where my lights are here. And it's mostly going to be in this hen. Okay, so the light is coming from here. Slight shadows here. I'm going to lay down a light wash. Maybe like a light blue. I've already had this ultramarine blue on my palette, so I could probably just kind of come in here with that. And then before I use it, I want to see how light it is. And that's way too saturated. I want that to be really light wash. And I want to maybe make this have, I could probably add a little bit of color to it. Like maybe add a little bit of red. So maybe it has a little bit more purple in it. The shadow shapes can be a color. I want to try and see what color they are. Okay.
Are
So
you going to add the yellow background at the end?
yeah, I think I will. I think in the past that I had done the yellow background, or I'd done the background first, and then I had to wait for all of that to dry in order to paint my objects. And so because I want to do this quickly and I don't want to wait for anything to dry, I'm just going to go ahead and do that at the end. So I'm gonna have to, that's going to be an interesting part of this process too. All right. Okay. I think I'm actually going to get into the shadow part here too, because that feels like it's dark. I could probably just do this the same way I approached the shadows on the vintage window assignment, where I'm just using this wash in the areas that there might be a shadow. And because I know that this blue is going to inform the red on top of it, like, because this is red, and I can add the blue there underneath the red, and it'll be a darker value. I'm okay with that. Okay. And okay, and I should probably get down there too. Okay, so that's good. And in order to make this more pop art, rather than looking at in between the items or in between the shadows, I can make this, I can flatten the color a little bit more and compress it. In fact, I'm going to see if I can do that with this photo. If I try to edit, let me make a copy of it. Let's see real quick. Cancel. I'm going to make a duplicate of this. Now I have two. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually see if I can edit this. Let's go back to the original. Okay, that's the original. I'm going to crop it. Into a square. And what I'm going to do is adjust it auto. And then what I might do is kind of posterize this. So, well, that's interesting. Make the lights really light and then the darks really dark. Okay. Highlights, shadows, make the shadows really dark. Maybe that. Increase the contrast. There we go. When I do that, you can see how this is all, now this is all really, really white, and now there's a lot less shadow. Brightness. Increase the black point, make the black point really dark. And increase the saturation. Okay. So now you can see the difference between this one and, oops, that's my breakfast. And this one, which is the original one I was using. So this one has a little bit more of a contrast in it. I'll upload that too, so you guys can use that. I'm going to go ahead and back into this one. Okay. No, you know what I'm going to use? I am going to go ahead and use that one. All right. I'm going to go ahead and finish out that yellow. I'm gonna go with yellow next because of a little bit of yellow here, and yeah.
Larissa, would omitting the cast shadow make it look more two-dimensional?
Probably, yeah. Okay, so it's really, really light. And now I'm gonna wait for that to dry, and I'm gonna hit this. This is still a little wet, so I'm gonna wait for all of that to dry, and I'm gonna move over to the rooster. The lightest area on the rooster is like this area here where it's a lighter red and everything else is really dark. And I get to choose which red I'm gonna use, and I think maybe I'll just use this cadmium. Or let me try this one here. I think I like this one. I don't even know what this one's called. This might be the quinacridone. Yeah, I like that one. Okay. I'm gonna hit. Yeah, I'm actually gonna come in. This is a stain color. So when I lift up in some of these areas, it might lift up a little bit, but not totally. Want to give it a feeling of that lighter area in there. Okay, this is still wet. I'm waiting for that to dry. So then I'll go ahead and use like the lemon yellow for the beak on this guy here. Okay. And yeah, what else can I do? Okay, now I can kind of work on this area since this is not touching anything that I painted already. And I can use that CAD red. I think I'm going to use the CAD red for the lighted area, and then I'm going to use the alizarin crimson red for the shadow area. I can pretty much just paint this whole thing. And I know that I have highlights in there, but I've already decided that I'm going to come in here with my white pen and capture those. But I've got really intense color here, which is what I want. I want that pop art feeling. The pepper, I don't know, is it salt or pepper? Pepper, maybe that's the pepper. That makes sense that it would be the pepper because it's black. The black.
That's a cad red.
This is a CAD red, yeah. All right, really bold. I love it. I want to paint that red over here too, but this is still really wet. I don't want to paint anything into this area. You can see how it's got a sheen. This is definitely shining. This has got a sheen here. If I paint the red in here, it's gonna bleed into my my blue, and I don't want that. Alrighty. That looks like it's dry, so I can come in and paint in here. Make sure that I don't have too much paint on my brush. I want that to be really, really, really saturated. I'm going right into the pan. I don't know if you can see it. Going right into the pan here, getting it really thick. Okay, that is really, really bold. I like that a lot. Okay. Still waiting for that. There's a lot that needs to be drying there still. Because I want this to be bold and graphic, rather than doing a lot of undulating variations of color within it, I'm gonna just focus on kind of glazing and layering flat areas of color one on top of another. So in another way, if I were to paint this the way I normally would, I would come in here and do some variations in here while it's still wet. And same with here, but because I want to just do this really graphic and lay the color flat in there, I think I want to leave that to dry. But I can come over here. This is dry and that's dry. So I'll do the hen. And because I've set this limitation or these parameters on this project, I am having to be mindful of how I approach this. I can't paint this the way I normally would, like my just the way that I would normally paint without thinking, because I've got this method of painting, which I'm accustomed to. So this challenge is putting me outside of my comfort zone. I have to think about how to paint this in a different way in order to get the look that I want, so that it feels bold and contrasting in value, but then at the same time having form. All right, so that's wet, this is wet. Now this is still dry. What I could probably do now is I could come in and maybe just kind of create a flat shadow. This feels dry to me. This is dry also. I'll paint this shadow down here first. And because it's yellow, I think I'm just gonna go with an orange. Maybe mix orange and yeah, maybe I'll just go straight up orange and see what happens, because that'll be fun. And if I want to glaze another color on top of that, I could do that.
Larissa,
Yes.
I thought you said we were using primary colors.
Oh, shoot, you're right.
Aha, got you.
Aha!
Ah, got you.
As long as we use the primary colors, we can easily mix orange,
You
right?
can, you
Okay.
can.
Okay.
I didn't though. Ah,
Nope, she dipped it
I
out of that pen. I
didn't. You
saw
caught
her.
me. You caught me. All right, well, here I am dipping into my orange. I'm gonna let this be the orange. And then the other one I'm gonna mix primary. I'll take my CAD red. And my CAD yellow and mix those together. Thanks for keeping me honest. I appreciate it. All right.
I gotta watch you, boy.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate it. Thank you for keeping an eye on me. Okay, let's see. Let's do this CAD yellow. There's very little yellow in here. You can see how I need to get another one. All right, it's pretty much giving me the same color. Well, let's see. Oops, let's keep it the CAD. All right. It's a little lighter. Maybe add a little bit more red to it. And that yellow is so filthy now. Okay, that's all right. And the trick, right, is to get that black by mixing my primaries. Not using black, but using only primaries. Okay, so I got an orange, pretty much same. Looks the same on the camera. Okay. Very bold. Waiting for this to dry here. This is dry, so now I can come in here with my red here. And I think I wanted to use the alizarin crimson. Oh, wait, no, the quinacridone red, which is, I'm gonna switch this around so I get a little bit of a cleaner palette here, which is not really clean, so I'm gonna have to actually clean it. No, that's not the red I wanted. I wanted this red here. It's a little bit more pink. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now there's a little bit of a lighter edge right over here. I'm just going to see if I can remove that off, just like I did with that one. And I know that it won't be as prevalent, but no, it's actually coming up a little bit. That's good. And that's going to give me that a little bit of a highlight to get that sense of form. See if I can remove it in these areas too. Oops. Good. So using the lifting up technique. All right, so that's nice. It's kind of coming up. right. Not bad, not bad. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is, this area is still wet. I can't paint anything over on this chicken, this rooster here, because that's wet. This is wet here too. You know what is not as dry is the beaks. I can go in there and paint a shadow shape for the beak for this little shape here and that little shape here. And it's not really any color that I'm thinking, like, just feels like darker yellow to me. Like, I don't know what that would be, but if I were to make that a bolder color, I don't want to use orange necessarily because I've already used orange there, but maybe, well, and I can't use orange because I have to mix an orange in. But maybe I'll use the yellow and mix. Yeah, I'm gonna use the yellow and I'm gonna mix it with some orange and a little bit of blue. Okay. So I'm gonna take my yellow, my CAD yellow, and then I'm gonna take some of the a little bit of this CAD red. So when I mix yellow and red, I'm gonna get orange. And if I add a little bit of blue in there, the blue is a complementary color to orange. It's going to neutralize it. And it's going to darken it. So add that in there a little bit more. Okay. So I got like it's kind of like a dark green, and it kind of looks like that color too. So I'm going to go ahead and use that on the beak. Just a flat color. It's a little too dark there, but
It'll dry.
and can lighten it up there. Okay. All right, so that's coming out. Okay. I'm waiting for things to dry. I could come in here with paint maybe the eyes. You know what? I'm gonna not paint the eyes. I'm actually gonna paint it's a little dark around the eyes. It almost looks pink. So I'm just gonna use a very, very light pink. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to let's see, just make sure that looks good. I'm gonna come in with the black ink pen and paint that in with, or not paint, but draw it in with the black ink later. So there, okay. You can barely tell. It's just barely there. Okay. Still waiting for that to dry a little bit. This is dry. So now what I'm going to do is come in here with like a alizarin crimson, a darker red, and just kind of get the shadow shapes here. Any of these areas that I see that are darker. And this is my alizarin crimson here. I'm just going to put it right on top. And that might not be even dark enough, so I might have to add, no, it's not going to be dark enough. I'm going to have to add some blue so that it's darker. And I'm going to go with phthalo. Sorry. Phthalo. Which one is that? This one? Maybe that's Prussian. I think that's it. Oh, wait. I don't have them labeled, so that's ultramarine. That's it right there. It's the one that I hardly ever use because it's so intense. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna use that in there, and that's giving me a nice purple. I'm gonna add more red. I want that really intense and dark, so I'm gonna add more pigment. Add more pigment here. And it's straight up purple. That phthalo and the alizarin crimson make a really nice violet. Okay, that's going to be a nice contrast to the red that I've got. So now I just have to make sure I paint that in carefully. I have a lot of paint on my brush, probably too much. I'm gonna tap it out so that I can have better control over it. And basically everything I'm painting right now is a shape. I'm gonna go ahead and fill all of this stuff in here too. And there's a little bit of shadow back there. And now I can go ahead and use that color up in here because this is all dry. And I'm going to get the shadow or the form beside. And then around, I'll leave the top part with red. All of this is dark as well. Ooh, no, it's leaking. Oh, well. That's okay. It's leaking into the eye. I'm going to have to fix that later. Shadow shape there. So you see, I'm not doing a whole lot of blending. I'm really trying to define the form here. Seeing it. Alrighty. That works. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. This lady over here. So you have to be really careful what shapes you're seeing, what you're painting in. And you can choose what areas to show, what areas not to show. So in order to create that sense of form, no, that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to go all the way to the edge. Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay, so that's there. I'm going to go ahead and let's see if I can just suck up this area here with a paper towel. And yes, I could. Okay, I saved it a little bit. All right. Awesome. Okay, now I'm going to come back in here. This is kind of dry. I think what I'm going to do is get like the second layer of shadow shapes in the hen. And so I will do that. Come back to this blue that I used before. And I'll do a second pass on that and maybe make it a little bit of a, maybe I'll make it green because it's blue, but then there's yellow bouncing off here. So the blue and the yellow might make green, but I'm not going to add green from here. I got to make it green by using my yellow. So here's that blue that I use. There's a little bit of red in it because I wanted it to be a little bit purple. So add more blue. I'm gonna add some lemon or cab yellow light in there. And that's gonna give me an interesting contrast because it's gonna be right next to the orange shadow, cast shadow. And it's gonna be really bold and contrasting in color. So now I gotta figure out where I'm gonna put this precisely. All right, so this is a shadow shape. I can't, oh gosh, and I can't paint next to that red area, otherwise it's gonna bleed, and I do not want that. So I'm gonna come in here. Hang on, this a little bit darker. Yeah, I want that darker. Okay. Um, But some of this I'm gonna leave white because the light is bouncing, like the light is bouncing and hitting the bottom part of these like feathers, so these areas a little bit lighter. But it's really dark right up here. I don't want to hit that red at all because then it's gonna bleed. Okay. I should probably add a little bit more color in here. I'm just gonna add the blue. It's still wet, but I'm gonna add the blue just by dropping it in. So I'm gonna add a little bit of color variation and then okay. All right. Now I'm gonna let that dry, take as long as it needs. I'm gonna mix up my colors to get this black area in here. And there's some areas where it's a little bit light, right in here. So I'm gonna see if I can leave, well, if I paint, here's what I'll do. I'll make a black mixing all of my colors and I want it to be this lighter color here. And then I'll have to do another pass with the darker color or the darker black. So let's see, I'm gonna mix up. I'm gonna do alizarin, crimson, and phthalo. And then let's see what else I can do. This is the alizarin crimson. Okay. Okay. And then I'm gonna use phthalo blue. Just this. And I might not even, it's so dark, I might not even need to use another color. I could just go with that dark blue. You can add a little bit more alizarin crimson and get it so dark where it almost looks like, ooh, that's really nice. I could just do that. And that would be a really nice bold color, but it's dark. It's got a good contrast with everything else. Okay. So I like that. I'm going to try and make it a little bit lighter so that I can get those areas of the highlights, or not the highlights, but the light that is reflecting off the surface and then is bouncing into the shadow side. And I still have to adjust this red part too. Okay, so that's my shadow area or the dark area. Let's see if there's any other areas where I could use this particular color. I could actually come back in and since this area is dry, I can do another pass of even the darker shadows here. Another pass here. Okay, and I'm waiting for this to dry. This is still wet. I'm waiting for that to dry. This area is dry. Now I'm going to come back. See, I'm jumping around everywhere. I'm going to come back into this area and then layer on my CAD red and get that a little bit more bolder. Okay, so I'm going to switch my palette around. So I have, oh no, no. And I'm just going to paint straight into this area. Oh, oh. Hmm. Okay, I'm just dampening my brush and kind of drying it so that I can get a little bit more of a softer transition in some of these areas where I left the paint. Okay, so soften that up a little bit. Soften that area too. Okay, this is dry. Now I can come back with that really, really dark, beautiful violet color that I made. And oops, lay that in really, really thick, but mindful to only paint on like these portions and kind of be mindful of these areas down here where the light is bouncing off. Now I know that this is like yellow, but I didn't do that yellow. I'm just gonna think about that color there. All right, here we go. Okay, I left some areas there. Oh, I got a missed spot up here. Okay. I was going to zoom out on this. I need to zoom out on this. Okay. So you're seeing layering colors, flat areas or flat shapes, designated shapes that the color is at, and glazing my colors on top, choosing bold colors to keep that pop inspired, Andy Warhol inspired feel to it. Only, thank you, Jerry, only using red, yellow, and blue primaries and mixing those colors up. I'm not using black, anything like that. And I have some areas that I still need to go in there and paint this. The last thing I'm going to do is paint actually what I'm going to do is this. I didn't do that part yet, and I need to do that part here. So, what we can do is I'm going to stop recording for about 10 minutes, give ourselves a little bit of a break. That'll give me some time to dry this. And then I'll finish this up and then we'll come back after the demo is over and then I'll go over your vintage window paintings. Sound good?
Sounds
Thanks.
good.
Thank you. Okay.
Larissa, on
Yes.
the bottom of the black rooster, that reflected light, did you decide we're not going to put any warm in there just to?
Yeah, I could have, let's see. These are things that I have decided not to do. Okay.
I figured.
If I really wanted to like take the time to get this right in a longer, like more of a accurate color depiction, like I would get this green. This looks green to me. I would make that like a green and I would paint that in and then maybe do the darker area like blues and with the black area, I'd paint that in on top of it. And then this area looks more warm to me.
Oh, so like first paint yellow and green and then put the black on top.
Yeah, you could,
Oh, okay.
but not black. You remember, you're like mixing
purple.
it. Yeah, mixing it between your primaries. So yeah, you can get as detailed as you want in terms of how accurate your color is. But because that's not the requirement, my requirement is more of what like that you're dealing with contrast and creating contrast with color or value or both. And that you're creating a sense of form and texture with and I haven't even added that element of texture in. I think I want to do that at the end with the white gel pen. And only using primary colors, like those are the parameters. But yeah, getting those colors accurate would be one way to do it, but because it's more of a pop inspired Andy Warhol type of inspiration, those colors don't even need to be accurate. In fact, if you wanted to do this in completely opposite colors, like his Marilyn Monroe pieces, that's something you could do too. It's an idea. It doesn't have to be accurate colors. The idea is that you're using the contrasting colors and creating a sense of the texture and form. All right, lots of things that you can do with this, depending on what you are interested in doing and how you are interested in approaching it. Okay. The main thing is that we will all be painting salt shakers. They'll all look completely different from each other. All right. Am I recording? Okay, here we go. Let's see. I have a little bit of yellow down here that I want to paint, but I want to get this part again. This part of I almost want to wait till the end to do that because everything is dry. Now that everything is dry, I really want to just go in there and paint the background. And I'm going to use a bigger brush. Use this really fun dagger stripper brush that I got from Art Supply Warehouse, and I'm going to use this yellow here. I don't have a clean palette. I'm going to use it. I'm going to put it here. There we go. Okay. I want a lot of water here. I want a lot, actually, I want a lot of paint because I want to get a lot of volume. I'm painting a large area. Me painting that whole background area. So I need a good volume of paint. And let's see what color that is. That is a beautiful color, but I think I want to use that more along the top area. And then I think I'm gonna kind of go with more of a cad or lemon yellow in this area, but I don't have a whole lot of it, so I have to dig in. I have to dig in here. See what that looks like. Okay, so I have enough difference. Okay, I'm gonna start because I want this to be a real even wash. I need to make sure, really need to make sure I have enough paint. Because I don't want to have to stop and make more paint. Okay, that's good. All right, here we go. Oh my God, I love this brush. I'm getting a nice, this is more of a like acrylic painting brush, but it's, oops. It's got a nice point on it, so I can get right up in the edge and I can spread this paint really nicely, which is better than using a round because then I'd have to make a lot of passes with that brush. I'm able to like lay all this down really quickly. And I guess I could, I think, I'm just gonna put that yellow in there because that was gonna be yellow anyway. And then I'll differentiate that in a minute. One way that I can, one way that I could really emphasize the flatness is by creating this kind of halo effect around the shadow. I have to get really careful around this edge here.
This is where I turn my painting upside down.
Yeah, you totally could. Oh, I want to make sure that this stays wet because I don't want that to dry and get a hard edge. I'm going to blend that with my cad yellow medium. My cad yellow medium. I want this to be bumped up pretty good there. That's fine. Oh, I got a hard edge there. I'm sorry. Okay. Now I'm going to come in here with this and paint that in there. Put that up there. I'm going to come back here with this yellow. It might not even make a difference, much of a difference, but it might. We'll see. Kind of a halo effect in some of those areas. So, all right. It's really wet up here. I'm just going to come in here with this dark color and just hit that right into the palette. And I don't want to touch it too much. There we go. That's got. Ah. Dry, 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 dry. I was a little heavy-handed there. I'm overworking it. I know right now that I'm destroying it, but that's fine. Okay, but I have some texture back there, so that's interesting. All right, so that's that, but now I've gotta do some touching up in there. I'll do that real quick. Make sure that I leave some space around my yellow background so I'm not making it bleed into any of those areas. Let's see here. I'm just gonna use. Up there. Okay, so it's thinning the sense of form, the light hitting that structure there. Okay. And now I'm going to come in with the black ink pen. And where is my black ink pen? Okay, let's put this away.
As you let it dry.
It's dry. Well, it's drying.
Woo!
Let's see. Okay, so things that I want to emphasize. The eye. That eye there. And let's see. The salt portion there. Okay. And there is kind of a hole over there. And all right. Can I get that a little bit? I'm going to work on the highlighted areas.
Oh, Larissa, Are you
Yeah.
going to paint that little spout um of the salt to come out? It's on the
This one or this one?
this one. Oh, I don't know what that is. It's on its chest.
Oh yeah, the magnet. I decided to
Oh,
not.
it's a magnet. Oh, I
It's
didn't know.
actually yeah, I'll show you. It's really cute. Hold on a second. They
Oh, I see. I thought
see.
that that's where you pour the salt. Oh,
No,
okay, okay,
it's out of here.
okay, okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you are not painting it.
No, I don't want to paint that part because it doesn't make any sense to me to
Okay.
have it in. I'm just gonna omit it. All right, here's my white pen. And I'm gonna use this white pen in the places where I see that the highlights are happening. Okay. I'm gonna add a little bit of highlight there. It's not really there, but there's one right here. There's some the top. They're really small, but and then in the this portion here and back here, there's a spot. There's some spots. Oh, oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, I think like, and I could probably get some in these areas too. Maybe might not show up. Not really. It's not really showing up. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna take a picture really quick before I destroy it with my line. To see if I can actually get this. I'm gonna do the line, the black line. All right. Now, that's gonna flatten it even more. We'll see what happens. Oh, somebody's getting a message. Now what I'm doing with my pen is I'm emphasizing my pencil line, but I'm also emphasizing the area of color. So I gave myself these kind of areas with my pencil sketch, but then I created the form in different places with my paint. So I can emphasize my painting rather than emphasize the drawing or the photo, sorry. Okay, so basically that's kind of the whole thing is just going over, and I'm gonna let this be an option for you. If you want to do it, you do not have to. But I wanted to show you what it looked like when I did it, since that's kind of the option that I gave you. And you can do this either before or after you paint. If you do it before, you need to make sure you're using a alcohol-based permanent ink pen or, well, I mean, a Micron waterproof pen. So that obviously when you paint, you're not bleeding the ink into your color. Anyone else painting along with me? I'm curious.
I am.
Who's I am?
Oh, it's Joy.
Hey, Joy. How's it coming?
The yellow is the hardest part
Mhm.
because just getting it flat, you
Yeah, you gotta use
gotta move fast.
a
Yeah.
good big brush
Yeah.
and have a lot of paint. Okay. And
Really cute. And
Yes.
you really see those highlights, especially on the rooster.
yeah, I think that white pen really did a nice job, only because they were so small and they were in areas where the color was really dark anyway. And it didn't make sense to kind of reserve those tiny areas out because I just want to get those really bold colors in. So, all right.